Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. I'm joined by my friend Nate O'Neill. He's a porn addiction recovery coach and kind of self-development coach as well, and all-around great guy. And today we're going to be talking about our personal lessons we've learned in 2020, how we've changed our coaching in 2025, and also kind of like our vision for the future, I guess, both personally. And yeah, so I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this because it's kind of like the things that we've been through and also how we've changed coaching and why we've changed our style a little bit and things that we've added. And I think you guys are going to get a lot of insights out of this. So lock in. But yeah, what's up, Nate? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. It's been a minute since we got a chance to properly catch up. Excited to chat.
Yeah, normally we're just making AI photos and videos of each other being super fat. So yeah, we've actually both left the US. I left for Europe. Nate's in Latin America right now, but I think he's going to join me in Europe in a bit. Yeah, so how's it been so far on your I know you felt like in Florida you felt kind of trapped there, or you were ready to leave. It seemed like time for adventure.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big lesson learned for me over my time in Florida, which we can dive into a little bit more in a bit. But it was, for whatever reason, it was just an environment that was really difficult for me to be a healthy person. I had some really difficult experiences there. I think I built a negative relationship with the area, but then traffic, things being kind of far away, everything felt a little bit more difficult to access and all this stuff. And after 3 years of being there, I just realized it was not the best environment for me to be the kind of person that I want to be. It was a challenge. It felt like an uphill battle for me to be a healthy person in a lot of ways. So took that as a sign to kind of bounce and leave, and am now spending the kind of indefinite future just hitting maximum adventure mode and traveling. So yeah, me and then you obviously know Corbin, but a good friend of mine are traveling together in Buenos Aires currently. And then we're on to Brazil next. And then the future is open to what's going to come after.
Nice. Yeah, what was I gonna say about that? Yeah, I like this idea that you kind of want to be like an aircraft carrier. You like want everything to come to you. Like you as little of your time that's spent like going far distances to do things, generally the more efficient you're going to be and the better your life's going to be. Even if it means like things are just like right across the street, or like my I'm doing yoga pretty soon, and there's yoga classes like 30-second walk away. I can go to a grocery store like 10 seconds away. um Parks for walking my dog. Like I try to make everything as close as possible, and then also on top of that, like getting a cleaner, getting food delivery, all this kind of stuff, so you can like focus on you know moving your life forward. And yeah, the biggest time wasting that people do is like uh food, preparing their own food, cleaning their house, like stuff like this. I'm also going to check the stream right now to make sure that everything's going good, that we can be heard. And yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I learned something we need to do. It says live with Restream February 12th. Maybe we could title our stream better. Let's redo it. Biggest lessons of
Uh-oh. Yeah, it looks like we had a technical difficulty here. And when Austin was changing the title, it went ahead and separated our stream. So Austin started a new stream. This one's going to end here. Just look for the next one coming up online, and then we'll be moving over there.
Okay. Let's see if this is working now. I mean, okay, yeah, the title's changed now. Biggest lessons of 2025. Day in the life of a streamer. It's actually quite a bit of technology you have to deal with to do this stuff. Okay, boom, I pop back on and you're on. Okay, cool. So we're good. Yeah, also guys, post in the chat if you can hear us okay, you can see us okay. But yeah, let's start getting into like the lessons of 2025. And I feel like you're this way as well. I feel like we both kind of a lot of the things we do, we kind of act on principle and we like listen to our inner uh like our core. We don't like I'm okay with I know I'll be okay financially no matter what. So I want to be as truthful as I can in my content. And I'm not going to like just, defer to the dumb shit in the world that's trending or like, I don't really care about trends. I don't really care about making the quick, easy thing. I think about long term and I think about my values. So, part of the reason, like we were discussing moving, like part of the reason I moved was a values difference. Like, um, me personally, I love nature. Uh, I also like the free market, but one thing I dislike is I hate the utter like disrespect of the poor. Like I know partially there's groups that want to flood America with homeless people, so kind of somewhat destabilizes America, makes us weaker. Same thing with like places in different places in Europe and stuff. But one of the things that drew me to the place where I'm currently at is a respect and a decency of people that are poor. If someone has psychological conditions, they're taken care of. If someone's homeless, they're taken off the streets, they're given a place to live. Like there's just a bunch of different things that ultimately, like I felt like it was time to leave. A lot of America feels like it almost feels like consumerism at all costs, or like that's the supreme cultural value. And I found this quote the other day I really liked is when everything in a culture is measured in commercial value, all other values dissolve. And when I was thinking about that, it's like, yeah, if your entire culture is based around just like financial value and like everything is financial and like it just makes everything like feel inhuman and kind of like dystopian. And so I like being in a place where like people value things other than just money, right? Like they value nature, they value family, they value culture, traditions. Like that was something that really called me to leave. Like America, I mean, we all know like America started to go downhill about 1965. And then yeah, now it just seems like the country that I grew up in, the culture that I grew up in no longer exists. It feels like I don't know. I also think that I can see ahead of the curve a little bit and I can see where things are going and I don't really like the current trajectory there. But yeah, I don't know. What are some of the things that have driven you to leave?
Yeah, well, honestly, the biggest thing for me, I have a couple things I want to say on that, but the biggest one for me was actually when we spent that summer traveling in Europe. And that was my first time outside of the United States to, well, I was in 2016, I actually went to Russia, but being in sort of Northern Europe, kind of the more standard European experience, and then returning back to the United States caused like such a dramatic shock for me. Like we were in Northern Europe, like all over Northern Europe. Like we were in Norway in the fjords, looking at these incredible waterfalls. We were in Rome, seeing like thousands of years of human history. And then I went back to like suburban Tampa, Florida, and that shock of like a place that is actually clearly designed with a serious intention uh, for beauty, and it's actually organized around human well-being. And I know a lot of that is because these cities are so old that they actually were built when they had to be walkable, like there was no choice. But it was such a sort of smack in the face for me to get that contrast that there's actually literally just better places to live across the board. Like there are cities that are more conducive to basically every aspect of mental, spiritual, physical health than what we see in the United States. And I think coming back really, I mean, frankly, it was like a shock to my system. I was like depressed for weeks after getting back because it was this like hyper connected environment. There was tons of beauty around me. I was with my friends. And then we get back to Tampa and I'm like 20 minutes north in the suburbs for a period of time and just isolated, and everything is cars and highways and like residential neighborhoods and ugly. And yeah, so that was I think the biggest thing for me. But yeah, I think that that caused me to see that there is such a massive the environment that you're in plays such a massive factor in your overall quality of life. And I think it sounds so obvious to say it out loud like that, but I think it's a huge variable in what creates our life that often gets overlooked. And if you're somebody who's never really changed your environment in a significant way, it takes a massive change of your environment in order to see how much different of an experience of life you can have by changing the physical environment. And so, yeah, I mean, this sort of gets a little bit ahead of what we're going to talk about, but I think that being in the United States, and also connected to what you were saying, it's like being immersed in a mentally polluted water system. Like you're just swimming around in toxins all the time from like a, sort of infrastructure, politics, social media, cultural perspective. Like in order to survive and be a healthy person in a lot of places in the US, you have to like actively create a microclimate, like a gas mask, to protect yourself from being inundated with the negative aspects that are just environmental all around you all the time. Like I think when going to Europe, one of the things that really stood out to me was how much different people were. Like people didn't seem to be having the kind of baseline existential crises that you see around the US. Like people have a comfort with who they are as people, and you can sense it talking to them. Like the problems that we have in the United States are not the world's problems. You don't go to other places in the world and find everybody like struggling with the most basic aspects of their identity as people. So yeah, I think getting that shift in perspective really caused me to reflect on what would be the place for me that helps me to be the kind of person that I want to be, where it's a downward slope towards being a healthy person rather than an uphill battle and having to like actively engineer this gas mask to protect myself from politics and car-brained cities and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of what you said resonated with me a lot. Just the aspect of having beauty around you in a city, like beautiful people, beautiful buildings, monuments, art, churches, like well-designed city. Everything just makes you feel so much better. I think there's some people that like you could literally throw them in like a Hong Kong like micro apartment where there's like bed bugs and like smoke everywhere. It's like, and they would be fine. They're like nothing affects them. I feel like I'm quite sensitive to the environment. I pick up a lot of what's around me, like the energy of it. So I 100% agree with what you're saying. Like, dude, I just remember like I feel like Tampa's not as bad as Miami, dude. In Miami, it's like every 5 seconds someone's revving their car engine. It's a poorly designed city. You're like on these sidewalks that are like 4 times too small. Like there's like these delivery robots that are going around, but they're going around like homeless people sleeping. It's just like seems so dystopian. But yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. Like people, I somewhat remind myself of this is like U.S. was the dominant culture of the world for like 100 years, right? Or I guess not 100 years, maybe like 50, 60 years. So all these other forces in the world, and this like now it's becoming like a what's it called, a multipolar world. They want to act on the U.S. and destroy the U.S. And whenever I am in the US and I see people depressed, addicted to social media, revving car engines, annoying the fuck out of people, homeless people everywhere, just like flooding the country with like 40 million illegal immigrants. Like, I'm like, dude, they won. Whatever groups were trying to destroy the US, they won, dude. It's fucking over. Everyone's fat and miserable, and it's a fucking toxic wasteland to be in. Only way I'd probably live in the US again is if I had like a nice plot of land all to myself and I just wanted to live a rural existence. Then probably sure. But outside of that, dude, it's like something's off. Like, and I've been I've been an atheist for a long time since like I was 16 or something. But the older I get, I'm just like, there's some fucking demonic shit going on, dude. Like, you can just sense it. You can sense it in the way people look, the look in their eyes, the feeling of the place, the forces at work. Sometimes I feel like, like when the forces of Mordor are like marching in Lord of the Rings, I feel like it's like, oh shit, I don't know if they're gonna make it. Like, that's how I feel sometimes. So yeah, like, yeah, it's in the Zoomer lingo, it's fucking cooked. But yeah, let's talk about, maybe get away from just like where we. I guess I'll leave off of this too. Like, if people listening aren't happy with where they're currently at, you can just ultimately choose somewhere else to go. And I think what you're doing is smart. Like, you're checking out different places. I've been to like 50 different countries, so I can kind of like see the pros and cons of every place. Like, I don't think there's any one like magical place. You just have to choose what gives you, what most aligns with you, aligns with your values, and kind of helps you get what you want in your life. Yeah.
To add in something on that point really quick, to not be like all doom and gloom and despair for people who are like living in the United States. A big part of what I work with my clients on is understanding the impact and importance of environment. And the way that I break it down are these different types of environments that we're connected to. So I don't know if you know this painting, or if anybody who's watching wants to look it up really quick, but there's this famous painting by MC Escher called Drawing Hands. And it looks like, I don't know if you can see this, it's like two hands with pencils and they're drawing each other. And I use that as a foundation to be like, to make the point that your environment creates you as you create your environment. So you have agency in terms of how your environment is shaped, and in turn, how that environment shapes you. So really, like, practical things, if you are somewhere where you can, obviously changing your physical location for a lot of people practically, it's like maybe you're in your family, you're locked into a lease, there's financial aspects, right? Moving across the country or out of the country, you may not be financially in the cards in a reasonable time frame. Look at your physical environment first. So the question I ask the people I work with is, does your immediate environment look like a place where somebody who is loved lives? Like, does your immediate environment, like your home, communicate to yourself that you care about yourself, that your values are reflected in the environment around you? Like, you can see in Austin's apartment right now, he's got red lights. He's got, I mean, you can't see it behind him, but like his setup is really cool. His entire space is organized to help him like be a healthy person and to minimize friction. And so you can take these small steps, right, to make your immediate living place somewhere that is good to be. But different environments, right? You have your immediate physical environment, then you have your digital environment. Like, what are you connecting to and letting into your mind, right? If you're in the United States and you're spending like 3 hours a day on social media, you're basically, like, a physical analogy for this would be going over to a chemical plant where they're dumping like PFASs into the environment and making frogs gay and killing turtles. And you're just drinking straight from the pipe, like totally unfiltered, right? That is what is happening in a mental pollution sense. So craft your digital environment so that you have real boundaries that protect your mind from being inundated with digital pollution, because that's the default state, right? Also pay attention to your social environment, the kinds of people you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with any people? Are you totally isolated and disconnected? Right? Then beyond that, there's other things that I can get into more later, but I just want to say, like, you can craft like a microclimate around you that enables you to be a healthy person, even if you're living inside the United States. But it's never going to happen if you're not intentional about that system. If you go with the flow, you're going to become the average of your environment. And if you're in the United States, especially, that's not a good average to want to go to. So be intentional about your environment.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like I have the same thing in when I teach in immersion, and toward the end, I'll say like, yeah, you want to set up your environment because what percentage of the time are you like well slept? Your food is on point, like everything's amazing. Nothing went wrong, and like you're just executing on top 1% you. It's like not very often. So you want to construct your environment around you so it kind of nudges you toward the things that you want your life to be like. So like most people will not have what I have. I'm in my dining room table. I have my entire setup here. Most people will be like, oh no, I just want to keep that like nice and neat. No, part of what I need to do as a man to be the man that I want to be is to contribute to the world. And part of that is like having a fucking sick setup where I can like write and record and produce and get shit done, because that's what I want my life to look like. I want my life to look like contribution, helping people, raising people up. And I'll make a game note for my whole channels about guys who want to get good with girls. So yeah, to set up your environment. A lot of my immersion students, after they end immersion, they get into a house or an apartment with other immersion students, and they start going out together. And like if your goal is I want to get better at game, and you come hang out with me, and you're with me for 7 days in immersion, and then on top of that, you leave immersion with like a group of 3 guys, and you're all going out constantly for 6 months. Do you think you're going to get a lot better at game and get crazy results? Of course you are. So, and I like the idea of like immersing yourself. It's so easy to just go all in. It's really hard when you kind of like, you're like, maybe I want to do a little bit of it or kind of commit, or when you pussyfoot around, you don't really get anything. So I like the idea of like 100% is easy, 99% is hard. And then, get good logistics, make your apartment set up for getting girls over. Always be bang prepped. So like always have your apartment ready to have girls over. Also, you should stay hoe ready. You should always be like, showered, well dressed, ready to go, ready to meet girls. When you leave your house, like that, you should basically have everything set up. You should have a fully charged phone. Your car should be charged or filled with gas. Like you should basically know the lay of the land so you can take girls on Insta dates. You know what to do when you're pulling girls home. So you should have things set up so that way it's easier for this life to be pulled toward your reality. So the life that you want will be the life that you have. So
an analogy I was gonna say really quick, an analogy I give my students sometimes is if you were trying to lose weight and get in shape and you moved into a house with 5 Navy SEALs, what do you think the odds are that you're going to be in shape? Right? Like if you can
100%.
put yourself into an environment that immerses you in a group of people, or if you can't like live with 5 people, but surround yourself with people who share common goals. It's such like basic self-improvement advice, yet it's one of the things that I see across the board with people that I've worked with, where the biggest challenge that they have is the fact that they're isolated and they're battling an environment where all the incentives are pointing them in the wrong direction. And so they're trying to, again, like scramble up the floor that is tilted towards the exact person they're trying to like stop being in their life.
I think a really good analogy for that is the rat cocaine experiment, where like the original rat cocaine experiment, they just put a rat in like this shitty cage by itself that was like metal. It's like cold. It sucks. And they gave it like a cocaine pellet dispenser. And then the rat like pressed it again and again. They're like, wow, rats really like cocaine. And then they actually later redid the experiment because some guy said that's a fucking retarded experiment. And he basically created Rat Park, which was like they gave this rat this beautiful, like spacious green, like environment with lots of plants and enough food and like hot like fucking female rats to fuck, like epic rat pussy. And then, and then he also had the rat pellet thing for the cocaine, and they found that the rats didn't really use the cocaine because when you have a great environment, when you have a great life, you don't find yourself compulsively needing addictions. And the analogy for like porn, or I guess any other addiction that people have, is that when you're lonely and isolated and cut off from a community and you're sad and you're not thinking about the future, or you're in shame, you don't have things that you enjoy doing, you don't have any sense of meaning or purpose in your life, you're like an atomized human being. And yeah, and that's where you get susceptible to that. And I almost feel like if that happens to you, Russia's winning, China's winning, Israel's winning. They're all plotting your failure and your demise, and you need to fight against it.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I say is your addiction is not located within you alone. It's located inside of your environment, right? The Rat Park experiment's really famous in terms of proving to people that addiction is not a willpower deficiency. Like the rat is not sitting in this like if you look at this rat in this isolated cage, pure metal, super dystopian, and it's juicing itself with cocaine all the time, who would look at that rat and be like, he needs more willpower? Like this rat just needs to be shamed into stopping doing cocaine. And then, yeah, who would, like, nobody would say that. And then when you see what happens when the rat is given an environment and a system of connection that it actually wants to be like in the way that a rat could, clear-headed for, there's no problems with escapism into addiction. And similarly, a thing that I'd say is a core of addiction recovery, whatever it is connection. But when you can build a life of connection that's worth staying sober for, the battle to escape addictions begins to end, right? When you are experiencing meaning and purpose, and you have friends that you can genuinely go out with and have fun, people who you can, like, who you feel love for or gratitude, and you can receive that in return. Anything that disconnects you from your emotions, that disconnects you from the flow of that kind of connection, you will naturally want to get out of your life. You will develop a protective instinct to protect the valuable connections that you have. So building that kind of connection into your life is so important. And I think it's, yeah, I mean, part of what we're talking about is the unfortunate reality of just being a modern person is that all of the incentives of society are pointing towards isolation. Just especially if you're in the US. Like, if I looked at my step count, dude, living in Tampa versus just being abroad, my step count just like tripled. The amount of time on a daily basis that I simply spend in the vicinity of other human beings has skyrocketed since I left. So again, if you're in a place that is incentivizing isolation, your only options are suffer the cost of going with the flow and being isolated, or accept the reality and then take responsibility for making the situation better. Build the kind of connection that you need to be a healthy person.
Yeah, dude, you hit at a lot of points that kind of goes to our next topic, which is about the ACT therapy stuff. So, yeah, why don't you just ask that question and I can relate it back.
Yeah. So one of the things I really wanted to talk with you about was, over the last year, you like massively invested in your skill set and your knowledge base as a coach. But then beyond that, obviously, just as a man, like, you went to all these conferences, you went to an ACT therapy conference and really dove deep into that. You went to like a behavioral science conference and really dove deeper into like how people can actually change and the inner obstacles that sort of stand in the way. So I wanted to ask you some about, like, what did you learn with respect to ACT therapy? Like, why did it resonate with you so deeply? And how did it change your perspective on how to help people?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my main goal of 2025, so I do this goal setting call every year, and I read out a long list of like, here's 70 things that it would be cool to do. And the number one thing that I wrote down was, I want to become the best in-person coach for dating transformation programs. And part of my blind spot with that was this like deeper level of integrating therapy into what I do, because everyone thinks game is literally just about, just meet girls, you just be icy and stoic, and then girls will like you. It's like a lot of what holds guys back is emotional problems in the way that they relate to themselves. They're either fused with, I'm a loser, I'm lonely, I'm an introvert, I can't meet anyone, or they are kind of like using substances or porn or emotional avoidance, experiential avoidance. And you'll see this at like different levels. Like you'll have the red pill people that are like, well, all those girls are whores anyway, so I don't even want to meet them. It's like they create these stories about why they shouldn't, and they create barriers of why they shouldn't even meet girls. They use porn as a way to escape, these negative feelings of a loneliness or feelings of inadequacy, or, kind of like these ideas of like, maybe I'll always be alone, or maybe it will never happen for me. Maybe no girl will ever love me. I'm unlovable. All this type of stuff comes up for them. And when you realize, I mean, I've obviously realized this, that at the bottom of I wouldn't say most, but many dating problems is a improper relating to oneself and one's emotions. So that was a huge thing that I went into. So I did Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. That was like an $8,000 program. Happens every year in Palm Beach. And yeah, so I went to that. And one of the biggest things I got out of that was the values creation stuff. So I was so curious. I was like, this stuff is so brilliant. Like, did he come up with this? Where is this from? And then I just, researched a bit, and I found this comes directly out of ACT therapy. And a lot of the phrases he was using were like verbatim taken out of ACT therapy. One of the phrases is, what was I trying to say? It's slipping my mind right now. But I went into ACT therapy, and then I read the book. It's called Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. Probably the best book I read last year. And then I was like, okay, I need to sign up for some of these conferences. So there was like an ACT therapy training. And then after that, I went to the behavioral science conference. And yeah, some of the biggest lessons I got out of it that can essentially help anyone is relating to what you were saying. You mentioned like a lot of people are trying to escape negative emotions, and they're using substances or porn. And then, so that would be like, that's not fusion, that would be avoidance, right? So they're avoiding these emotions. So avoidance is almost like you're trying to push the emotions away from you. And even if you do this for a bit, it feels kind of good to push the emotions away from you. But then ultimately, like, your hands and your arms hurt, and like, you can't do this your entire life. It's not a good way to live life. And the other way is fusing, like, I'm a loser, or I'm like anxious or whatever. And you're just kind of fused like this, and you can't see any other alternatives. And when you look at like that consciousness chart, the down at the bottom is like shame and these disempowering emotions that are not proactive at all. They're not helping move you toward anything. They're like completely paralyzing emotions. So one of the biggest things is like that 6-part ACT therapy, the core processes, and the core processes for everyone are diffusion and acceptance. So, right, we've all heard about certain parts of that, like this. Like, let me go through all of them, and I'll explain how it's kind of used in like common language, because all aspects of this are things that we have been told or we've done in our life. So, diffusion, acceptance, those are part of being more open, and then being aware. You're using present moment awareness. So that would be an example like meditation. Or using yourself as context. So think about in the past or what you want in the future. And then engaged is about values and committed action. So basically diffusion, acceptance, present moment, self as context, values, committed action. And these kind of go in all different directions. They're kind of like interlocking. So it's not like a sequence. And so like acceptance, a lot of people say, hey man, just some things you just got to let go, right? You just got to accept how it is, right? Or diffusion, people say, hey, don't say that. You're not, like, if you say, I'm a fucking loser, people always say, don't say that about yourself. Or present moment, it's about being like present to the moment, right? Meditation, yoga, sports, music, flow states, and then using yourself as context is kind of like comparing yourself to when you were a child. So a lot of times, one of the most effective things for this is like the inner child exercises. And when you think about like who you truly are at your core, oftentimes you don't have the same limiting beliefs. You don't have the same like kind of off the rails kind of emotional patterns. And when you resonate with that true core self that you had when you were a child, it kind of reconnects you to it. And it's this part of you that, how do I say? It's a part of you that sometimes we have cut off contact with. So by reintegrating it as part of the greater whole, you're able to live a more full life. The next one is values. And this is the one that I love the most, because like you said, if people have a reason, a purpose for living, then a lot of this addiction stuff goes out of the way. If you have a reason for living, if you have values that you truly deeply resonate with, you are going to draw that closer to yourself. The other thing is committed action. So it's not just about saying, hey, you know what? I value freedom, and that's why I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to go do blah, blah, blah. It's also about, what are the steps you're going to take now that you align with freedom, right? So, and it's so funny because a lot of like the manosphere space is all about this like rah, like just fucking do it, man. And it turns out that it's just like not very effective. Like it would be cool if you could just like say, hey bro, don't be a pussy, just go do it. Right. But it literally just doesn't work for most people like that. You have to give them small steps to take. And it's so funny. Like I had some guy like critiqued my like desensitization plan. And he's like, bro, you don't need to go compliment people to game. I'm like, the thing is, I've worked with over like almost 2,000 people. So I know what people are comfortable with when they're first starting. And so take the next small step toward aligning with that value. What's the next values-based move that you can take? And so those are like the 6 processes. And like, I feel like we all talk about these in different ways, right? It's like values, like, is that a part of who you are? Or like, bro, just take this next step. So all these things are part of like the cultural zeitgeist. But the thing is, as most things in like the popular consciousness, it's just like these surface level, not nuanced, no depth things that people can't really sink their teeth into and actually like improve. So what I love about ACT therapy is it just kind of combines all of this together. And I think one of the things you asked me was like, what changes I made to my coaching? And one of the biggest ones was the first day of my coaching, we just go really deep on the inner work, because when your inner world is like aligned to where you want to go, you have pull motivation. So pull motivation is different than push motivation, because pull motivation, you're like kind of drawn toward it. It's a value that you resonate with. So it doesn't feel like a lot of work to do the thing. It's like, if I told you like, hey bro, go approach and you can meet girls and some of them will want to date you, then it's a lot easier than trying to willpower your way to it, or saying like, you know what, I deeply resonate with courage and love, and I'm willing to suffer for it, right? I don't give a fuck if there's something difficult that comes up. I'm going to make space for the difficult emotions that come up, and I'm going to take action regardless, which is I don't know if you want me to keep ranting about this stuff, but like one of the biggest insights I got from that is like, you need to both have willingness to do something for it to be profoundly transformative in your life. And you also need to make space for the difficult emotions that come up. So if you're willing, that means you're choosing to do something. And it's so much more powerful when you're choosing to do things in life than when you're being told to do things by your parents or by society, or kind of like, just like you said, like society is kind of funneling you into this like place and you just kind of exist there. Like when you actually choose to create your life and choose to create the person that you are, it's way more powerful. And it's, maybe not everybody on earth can have this fully, what's it called? Like inspected life where they kind of evaluate everything and go for it. But if you guys are listening to this and you identify with this and you resonate with this, realize that you can create the type of life that you want. You can create a new environment for your emotions. You can create a new way of relating to them. You can create a better life for yourself, essentially. So another thing I just said it there is like a lot of the times people think that they shouldn't have certain emotions. And the truth is that every emotion exists for a reason. They've been in our biology since before we were human. Like a lot of these like wiring is pre-mammalian. So the things that you're experiencing, fear, greed, like shame, certain things like this have evolved for a reason. There's a reason why your creator gave you these emotions, and they're a natural part about being human. So you shouldn't be ashamed with them. There's this thing called ironic processing theory. I also learned from this, which is like if you try to avoid an emotion, it actually makes it more severe and it can come up even worse. So by trying to shame certain parts of yourself or avoid certain parts of yourself, you're essentially making those emotions more severe. So you're not even getting rid of them. The way to process them and hold them is with acceptance, and diffuse from them and hold them with acceptance. Another one was that every negative emotion has a positive side. So like, let's say you're sad because you broke up with a girl. Well, why is that? It's because you had something really wonderful with her, right? You experienced love and you were with her and you had great emotions and you got great sex and you had great experiences and you felt connected. So that emotion of sadness has a positive side of it as well. And yeah, those are like the main things that I've gotten out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot that you said there, obviously, that I think was worth diving into a little bit more. One of the things that right at the beginning, which I think is so true, and I think if people can really grasp this, it can unlock so much in terms of allowing you to actually change and start to grow more into the kind of person you want to be. But I think that the root of so much of people suffering, the challenges that they have with achieving their goals, the changes that they're trying to make that are unreasonably difficult or whatever, it's not that, for example, like you couldn't go out and face the anxiety to go talk to a girl. That's actually not the level of reality where the problem lies. The real transformation happens if you can change the way that you relate to yourself, your emotions, and what's happening in your life. So much of the problem is based on relationship, not on specific content. So one of my favorite things about ACT therapy is the acceptance part of the process is really like I saw somebody break it down where they look at the way that most people relate to their emotions is sort of hierarchical, and it's based on judgment and typically some form of shame. Like I experience a negative emotion that I don't like. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's shame. And internally, there's a part of me that then judges that as bad. Like my anxiety is the reason why I'm failing. So like get this out of here, right? That's the experiential avoidance, the push away. But what it ends up creating is this internal fragmentation. Like there's parts of me that are actually trying to communicate something important, and I am rejecting them, judging them, rejecting them, wrapping them with a sort of layer of not being acceptable, and then casting it off into the depths of the dungeon as far away from me as I can get it. And then I wonder why I struggle to feel like a whole, lovable, acceptable person when I'm around others. Like this way that we relate to ourselves forms the template of how we will allow ourselves to be around other people. So what ACT therapy does, and also IFS is another really powerful thing that I've been focusing on this last year, which does this as well. They're very complementary, but ACT therapy says that the relationship that we want to have with ourselves is not a hierarchy where the good emotions are good and we should strive after all those and try to experience them all the time. And they're actually like, if I'm only experiencing positive emotion, that means that's what a healthy person is. And if I'm experiencing negative emotion, that means I'm an unhealthy person, or I'm bad in some way, or I'm deficient in some way, or these negative emotions are a sign of like me not being the kind of person that I'm supposed to be. Like a lovable person doesn't feel anxious or insecure or whatever it is. ACT therapy shatters that and instead draws a circle around the entirety of the human experience and says every single one of these emotions is sacred, has information to communicate to you, is valuable in its own right, in its own context. And if you will pause to accept these emotions and to be with them, you will start to figure out that they're communicating something to you that you can then integrate into how you move forward. So it creates wholeness as an output instead of fragmentation, right? When you can feel the anxiety and not relate to it from a place of judgment and shame and condemnation and rejection, and instead relate to it with acceptance, being like, okay, I'm feeling anxiety. This is a normal part of the human experience. What happened if I actually met this and just allowed myself to feel it without judgment and to listen to what it was trying to communicate? And then I could integrate that into how I move forward. Now I actually have the ability to act on the principle that I can feel afraid and do it anyway. Mm-hmm. But it has to come from that foundation of wholeness.
Yeah, like so much of what I do is just getting people to, feel the fear and do it anyway. Exactly. It's like the process is uncomfortable, but it's worthwhile. Like the point of all this stuff is to live a meaningful life. It's not to avoid negative emotions. It's not to hide. It's not to finally one up someone. It's to live a meaningful life. And in order to live a meaningful life, you're going to have to do things that are hard, right? You're going to have to do things that are painful, difficult, uncomfortable, that force you to grow, that force you to look at yourself, that force you to have actually like come face to face with the difficult emotions that you've been avoiding. And yeah, the thing is, it's difficult, but it's worth it, right? So, I'm curious. So what are some of the hardest inner challenges that you personally help guys with? And what's kind of changed in terms of how you guys coach, how you coach guys through it now?
Yeah. So this last year has been, I would say, like a massive synthesis year for me where, for larger context for people, like I specialize in helping people with pornography addiction recovery, but I think that's a really simplistic way to describe what I do because it is really like holistic men's personal development. People get into addiction recovery thinking their addiction is the problem. Like all I need to do is quit porn and then I'm fine. And then we pull on that thread of, well, why are you using porn in the first place? And then we see it goes into like your relationship with yourself, past trauma, family of origin wounds, difficulties with dating and relationships, intimacy challenges, communication difficulties, like you don't know how to be authentic with others. You don't know how to communicate in a way that actually fosters connection. Then it goes into the like spiritual side of things, meaning, purpose, having a connection to like a transcendent higher power that can help you to navigate the difficulties of life. And so people come in presenting with this initial problem, and then they find out that in order to get rid of the porn, which is a symptom, they have to become an entirely different person. So a lot of what I do with people has been a process of like helping people to identify what is going on these deeper layers of who you are that is keeping you stuck. And then how do we transform that into action in the real world to meaningfully change the outcomes in your life? And part of what I see with people is there's problems all over the place. All right. So some people have, for example, maybe they realize like, man, the reason why I keep turning to pornography is because I have such bad anxiety. That's a really common one. And then we start to like crack open the hood. And I mentioned this like the last time we talked, but crack open the hood and look at their life, and like they're eating terrible. Their sleep is horrible. It's super erratic. They don't exercise and they're just like brutally lonely. And then it's like, okay, so this is not an anxiety problem, as if this is like disconnected from the material conditions of your life. So that's where some of the problems are. But then I get other people where they have a lot of awareness of their patterns, their basics of life are really dialed in. And yet they have such challenges with creating the kind of outcomes that they want in their life. Or maybe they're dating, maybe they're even in a relationship, and they have this like toxic shame or problems with their relationship with themselves that evidence in the outside world is not actually affecting in a meaningful way. Like that Alex Hormozy quote that says that, and if you want to be confident, create an undeniable stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. I have people who I've worked with who have the stack of evidence and they still don't feel okay with themselves. So like, what's going on there? Or there's other people, for example, where like the spiritual side of their life is so difficult and they feel a sense of meaninglessness and purposelessness where even in the midst of having a life where if you go down the checklist and it's like, okay, physical stuff, great. Got friends, great. Got hobbies I'm involved with, great. I got a like good paying job and a career that's okay, great. They have a life that looks good on paper and yet every single week just feels like a blur. Like there's no deeper meaning or purpose behind what they're doing. And they find themselves asking this question of like, is this all there is to my life? Like, have I just hit the ceiling of what I can experience? And so that drives a lot of this like refrigerator hum of discontent and kind of subtle despair that just doesn't seem to have an origin point. So to kind of collapse this all together over my coaching time with people, I use all these different like methods to work with people. So sometimes if it's just behavioral, then we'll work on the behavioral aspects of things. Like let's get your sleep, your diet, your fitness on track. Let's work on some like actual just super hyper practical things in your life. Like let's join a club to get you around like-minded people, like join a jujitsu school or something that can kill a couple birds with a single stone of getting you around like-minded guys, actually getting good male friendships and working on your fitness and working on self-defense at the same time or something like super practical like that. But then part of what I started to, kind of move a layer deeper, part of what can happen with guys is I kind of mentioned like the guy who has everything looking good on paper, but still miserable. They have all this stuff in their life, but they still have this like baseline emotional illiteracy. So they have all this stuff on their calendar, like it's Andrew Huberman's wet dream has been the way that I've been describing it. Like they're waking up on time, they're getting sunlight in their face, they're drinking their electrolyte water, they're getting their morning walk in, then they're doing their workout class, then they're getting their optimal dose of caffeine and starting their workday, and then they spend after hours from their workday working on like a personal project, then their jujitsu class, then they hang out with their girlfriend. Then they wind down with their red light glasses before bed and like melatonin, perfect time, boom. And they still struggle. So their life is like disconnected from a deeper understanding of their needs as a person. And that's part of what I see where like people are lonely, disconnected from meaning and purpose. And then they're trying to solve the problem by like going to the gym more. Like no amount of going to the gym is going to help you to feel a larger sense of purpose and connection and like value in your life. So there has to be this like connection to a deeper layer of needs, right? That's another aspect of what I help people with, build the emotional literacy. But then you get into this other problem with people where they can become aware of these patterns. They're trying to do things in their life that are the external action is connected to meeting a legitimate internal emotional need. So their life simplifies a lot, but then they get into these patterns where they can have all the self-awareness in the world, but still nothing seems to be changing. They cannot create the external pattern that they're trying to create. Something is blocking them. And this is where ACT therapy really starts to come in handy. And the other approach that I've been using with people that has been like mind-bogglingly effective has been internal family systems. So this is where there is a part of you or a system of parts of you that believe that the change you're trying to make on some level is fundamentally dangerous to who you are or is going to threaten love, belonging, or attachment in some way. So this is where a lot of I would say the most transformative work that I do with people happens, and where I've grown the most in terms of being able to help guys with this over the last year. But people, most of the time when you cannot show up in the world the way that you want to be able to show up, it's because there's a part of you that believes that stepping into that new identity will be threatening or dangerous in some way. It's because if I go out and I date girls and I actually show up as a confident man who's connected to the reality of my value, my attractiveness, my worth as a person, that makes me vulnerable to something that is really scary or terrifying to a part of me. Then I could actually get invested emotionally. Then my true self is on the line and I'm actually vulnerable. Then I could get my heart broken. I could get cheated on. there's all these threats that emerge on the other side of stepping into a successful identity. And that's actually what people are like stiff arming and pushing away at arm's length. So the IFS and the parts work, and I blend ACT therapy with it too, is where I see like those kind of problems solving. But then again, the stuff gets complex. He's like, this has been the big synthesis for me over the last year, is this 5-layer approach. So we went through like behavioral needs, the parts of you. And then there's the developmental layer, right? Where there's just a reality that so many men in our culture are just psychologically immature. They are teenagers emotionally and in terms of their capacities to create things in their life in a 25 or 30-year-old's body. Uh-oh, looks like we lost the stream. Okay, we're back. They're teenagers in an adult's body, right? And so there's a real developmental process of helping people to learn how to actually step into authentic leadership in their life, to learn how to like actually protect themselves and to enforce boundaries, to stop putting feelings in the highest priority in their life and actually learn to abide by their values and their principles. Again, where ACT therapy comes in really handy. So it's about growing into an emotionally mature and capable man who is capable of creating the results in the external world that you're trying to create. Because healing, and this is a big saying I have in my program, healing or soothing the inner child is only half the battle. You have to become the adult who stops repeating the pattern. Which means you can't just do all this endless inner work and then still be incapable of going out and starting a relationship. There has to be that second element in play. And then finally, the bigger thing for me as well this year was the spiritual aspect with people, the meaning, the purpose, the connection to something transcendent, to higher power, God as you understand God, and developing a real sensitivity for like, how do you actually navigate that territory? How do you take agency in a meaningful way to create meaning in your life? How do you understand if you are like expanding as a person, becoming more of who you could be, or if you are contracting and you are moving away from the person that you could be or that you want to be, that's in alignment with your values. The spiritual layer, I would say, is like the tide that lifts the boat. When that layer of people's life is missing, none of the other stuff that comes before it will stick or will matter. There has to be a larger vision that our transformation is in service to. So to get all the way back now to really wrap up and answer your question, the hardest challenge that I have with people is actually addressing all the layers of their life in a systematic and comprehensive way. Every single person I've ever worked with, their problems are never one single problem. It is an integrated, they are an integrated system, and there's problems that affect multiple layers, right? So for me, the biggest challenge was actually learning how to address people's problems in a systematic way, to treat them as whole people so that they don't come in and get like bad advice that doesn't work. Hey, go behavior swap, double down on habit optimization, or go out and try to develop your dating skills while completely not touching the inner world of parts that are, causing you to have an identity of shame or low self-worth, or that are causing you to push away success and self-sabotage because there's parts of you that believe that succeeding would actually be dangerous in some way. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing for me. The biggest challenge that I have with guys is really addressing that in a comprehensive way. But over the last year, the changes that I've made have really unlocked the door for me to be able to do that in a higher level.
Yeah, dude, Nate's brain works in two different ways. One is incredibly deep, philosophically profound, and the second way is 3-year-old poop jokes.
There's no in between.
No in between. Yeah. So one of the things you said was you wanted me to talk about was like how my coaching has changed this year. And I would say it started out with like, I added a shit ton of like the inner stuff. I actually dialed it back just to like the most effective exercises, because something I ask at the end of every immersion is what was your like favorite 2 things out of this entire immersion? And then I just kind of simplified like the highest bang for your buck, like inner game stuff. And beyond that, like I kind of like have now doubled down back on approaching. So I'm just giving people as much infield experience as possible and as much filming as possible to grow, basically. The other thing is at the end of my program, I do kind of like, it is kind of like inner, but it's you're getting feedback from peers. So I involve a lot of peer feedback into the final day. I think you remember this on the integration day. And I also added a relationship day, which people really love. So another thing, I used to do 100 approach challenge. I dialed it back to 50 approaches now, and people have been liking it a lot more. Because when you do 100 approach challenge, you focus way too much on quantity that you don't really focus on the quality of what you're doing. Yo, what up, Mike?
How you doing,
Center yourself.
man?
The Shure SM7B.
Hello.
What's up, bro?
Good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the topic of this live was what is something, how is like your coaching changed this year, and what's something that you kind of like learned that you're kind of implementing into it?
You're asking me right now? Okay, great. What's
You're
changed?
like, fuck, dude. Nothing.
I need to work on my Chinese and my Thai because I'm expanding to Southeast Asia. But other than that, pretty similar. I've learned the importance of investing because we can't be dating coaches in our 60s.
Is that a bad look being at the club when you're 60?
No, but like, dude, yeah, the club we went to in my last boot camp, they were, dude, I think in Thailand. I don't even know the age limit. It might be 18. We're like risen a bunch of 18-year-olds. So still works, but you know, it's just, it's getting to the point. I feel like maybe like 50, you know, it'll be a little kind of weird, but still doable.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So yeah, Nate and I just went on for like 30 minutes about emotions and how we're like implementing things in our coaching. But the next topic we have is, yeah. So anything that you learned for last year that you're kind of wanting to implement more of this year, and any kind of goals that you have for this year. Like, I'll just tell you guys right now, my goal is I want to hit 100,000 subscribers this year, and I'm going to go hard as fuck. I already invested like fucking, I don't even know, $3,000 into just like new gear and stuff. So yeah, I want to go hard as fuck. I'm just optimizing everything I can to get output. And I think we didn't really go so much into this last time, Nate. We were talking about like what we're going to implement this year and like the big lessons just personally. But I wrote down like my goal, my values for this upcoming year and the things that kind of get me off track. So like I go really deep into like the values and how I can relate to them, but I just put the shorthand here, and it's like number one for me is focus. Like, I have ADHD, which is in some ways it's like a superpower, but in other ways it's a limiting factor. Like, I'm super creative, lateral thinking, but it's hard to, you know, I just need to focus. And so that means like quadrupling down on that. I'm not cleaning my fucking house. I'm not cooking when I don't want to cook. I'm not doing my fucking laundry. Any bullshit tasks I am just eliminating or automating or delegating. The next thing, so focus, consistency, and relentlessness. If you want something, you have to go fucking relentless as fuck on it. So I'm going balls to the wall. I don't give a fuck what comes my way. I'm not stopping. Next, excellence and mastery. Part of the reason I think I'm going to, my attempt is going to be live stream every single day. But I think just by speaking every single day, you just get better at speaking, right? Just putting in the reps. Next is contribution. So valuing my value is contribution. I want to give back to other people. So love and connection. And part of that is like, dude, I need to build an awesome team to help me get there. Authenticity. I'm not doing any fucking trend bullshit. I'm not doing like, I'm not being a sycophant. I'm not saying things I don't believe in just to get like better marketing stuff. I'm going to be authentic through it all. I'm going to focus on my health, double down on my deep sleep. My number one limiting factor is honestly my deep sleep. And then long-term thinking. So I'm focused on the long term. I don't give a fuck short term. Oh, you could do this. You could do a downsell funnel and then fucking, I don't care. I want to be focused, long-term thinking, consistent. Yeah. The biggest things that fuck me up, bad sleep. So like, dude, literally everything. I got blackout curtains. I'm getting my dog a bigger bed, so it incentivizes her to sleep on the bed more. Magnesium. I'm going to try some peptides for sleep. I'm going fucking balls to the wall on that. Next one is overwhelm. When I have too many like ongoing tasks, it spreads my attention so thin I can't do anything. So just getting rid of shit, eliminating, prioritize, delegating. And then distraction. So I'm limiting my screen time. I'm limiting my Instagram and all this type of stuff, and focusing on health and sleep. So my brain is really sharp. And then I'm doing the fucking most annoying task of the day in the morning. So that's kind of like what my next year will look like. But my main goal is 100K subscribers.
Nice.
Great.
Do you feel like there's anything this upcoming year? Like, I'm curious if you have, like, from all the ACT therapy stuff that we talked about and all that previously, if over the upcoming year, there's like a different way that you're going to be approaching business or life or your relationships because of what you learned that you wouldn't have done last year. Like, are you changing anything that you used to do differently?
Yeah. I'll say like, running a business, you tend to be kind of curt with the way you talk to people. You're just like, hey, fix the fucking light, do this, do that. And the problem is that kind of bleeds over into your relationships, and it makes you not like an enjoyable person to be around. So I've definitely, the last year has really trained me to watch the way that I speak to people more, and especially in my relationships. So like, it was kind of I am not like, I'm kind of like Mike. I'm a very engineering brain type of person. It's just like the idea of like having this like the way to bring up difficult conversations where you're like, hey, listen, I really like you, I respect you, but when I see you doing this, it makes me feel like you don't care about what we're doing here. And yeah, what I want in this organization is for you to like really double down on this type of stuff so that we can help the most people. Would you be willing to do that for me? And maybe, do like that way of speaking was just so foreign to me that it was really a rough transition. I feel like Nate, that's like literally how your brain is coded, is to speak like that. But like for me, it was really tough. So now it's like anytime I have a problem, I lay it out super simply. And like I established a boundary with my girlfriend last like Friday or something. And she was like, oh, no, I completely understand. I know that you have boundaries, and I definitely I can accept that. And yes, like she was just like, it just makes it so much easier to have a great relationship when you know how to conduct yourself in a conversation where people's feelings don't get hurt, their ego doesn't get poked, and like, it just seems so reasonable and like easy to agree to. So it's like, not only does it make them feel better like in the moment and make them respect you, and it makes your outcome more likely to happen, but it also makes them think, this is the type of person I could be with for the rest of my life because they know how to speak to me. And like I always say this, 90% of the success of a relationship goes to who you select, but like the other 10% is how do you relate to them? Who do you choose to how do you choose to show up in that relationship, and how do you communicate with them? So like that was super, super helpful for me just personally. What about you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I want to say really quickly though, what you're talking about is so massive. Like I'm working with a guy right now who's married, and like his marriage is totally on the rocks. And I'm first couple sessions working with him, we're talking about like, walk me through examples of conversations you had recently that just didn't go the way you wanted them to. And it's like the 4 horsemen from the Gottman Institute of like criticism, contempt, stonewalling. Like every single one of those was like off the charts. Like he literally said, I think I've spent most of my marriage trying to convince my wife why she's wrong. And I think it's so crazy for the average person out there who does not spend your time like working with people in a coaching fashion. when you start working with people who are in relationships, it becomes so painfully obvious that being in a relationship is not is not like what to say, it's not like a de facto good thing.
Yeah.
There are so many people who, because of their lack of communication skills, are in horrible relationships where there's just, I'm gonna go too far. It's horrible, like so bad. But what you're talking about, Austin, like keeping identity out of the conversation and just focusing on behaviors, like that tiny thing I just said, if you can keep the identity of the other person out of it and just focus on behaviors, what you've done is actually create emotional safety inside the relationship. And that emotional safety is so huge for relationships to be successful and free of like unnecessary conflict. And yeah, I just want to emphasize that for a moment. That's one of the biggest things that I focus on as hyper practical, super easy to change in your communication style is stop criticizing the person and start focusing on behaviors. Like instead of, hey, you're a lazy piece of shit, you can say, hey, I asked you to do this thing and it didn't come back in the time we agreed to. All of a sudden the other person is like, oh, they're calling out something I did rather than who I am. Massive.
Dude, one of the things people will criticize me and Mike for is like, oh, you're just teaching people to be players and just fuck around a lot. It's like, no, when you meet a lot of girls, you know what you resonate with more and you end up having a better relationship because you're choosing the person out of a place of abundance, not desperation. When you choose someone out of desperation, you are more likely going to be with someone that you don't resonate with. There's going to be a lot of relationship friction and it's not going to be great. The other thing you said, like I just want to make one last point on it's literally a bias in the brain. It's called fundamental attribution error, where when other people do things, it's because they're a shitty person. And when you make a mistake, it's just because of the situation. So you should afford other people the same benefit of the doubt that you afford yourself.
I think if you fix your sleep, everything would just auto align.
Honestly.
Did you tell your audience we hung out in Thailand? Austin wake up at like 4 p.m.
Oh yeah.
I
had some people keeping me awake.
Yeah, so that's like the challenge.
Had a bunch of lady boys over there.
Just like, do you want to spend more time on the business or do you want to spend more time pimping? And they kind of actually are opposing directions. I feel like a lot of guys that spend way too much time pimping, actually their business goes to shit unless there's a way where we have enough systems in place where
exactly like if you could live stream,
the cameraman, the auto editor, but then you're not really helping people on a more intimate basis. Then it's more about content and etc. But one thing I will say about health is like, in my 20s and 30s, I could get away with shitty like sleep habits. You can kind of like push through and get away with it, right? And then in my late 30s, you reach like a breaking point where like it has to be dialed in. Like now, if I get less than one, if I'm even sleeping 1 hour less, my whole day is fucking ruined, And so sometimes it's good when you reach the breaking point. It's like you have to dial in. You don't have any other choice. You can't be like 70% dialed in, And so I think for me and you, the sleep thing is definitely a similar goal. But I've been pretty more on point in the last couple of months. So
yeah, I'm slowly getting there. There's this really cool thing. Anyone who has insomnia, look into this. It's called time in bed restriction. It's so fascinating because you think like, oh, someone like struggles to fall asleep, they should actually just be in bed more because they need to sleep more. Like if you have worse sleep, you should just be in bed more. There's this thing called like time in bed restriction, and like if you restrict your time in bed to like 6 hours. And you do that for a couple days, you're going to use the 6 hours. You're going to like fall asleep immediately and you're going to have very little time awake. Like I tried this last night. My time awake while I was sleeping was 14 minutes. Whereas like usually it'll be like 45 minutes to like an hour and a half. It's like really bad.
So do you go to bed and you're not sleeping while you're on bed normally, or do you just don't go to bed and then it's because you're like, what's the
my brain, it's like you were describing if you don't sleep enough, the whole day's ruined. That's true for me until like 11 p.m. Then I get like insane surges of creativity and brilliance. And then I start like, I'm like, my brain is just gets so curious. I'm like, I'll start like looking up like how do they keep icy ports free, and I like, oh, the icebreaker, and what's the millimeter thickness of the hole? Like, dude, my brain just goes down all these rabbit holes.
That sounds
yeah, so it's hard for
kinky.
me to fall asleep, and then I get low deep sleep. My deep sleep's usually like around 45 minutes, which is quite low.
So did you find your teleprompter or not yet? Check this out.
Oh, nice, dude.
We're sick, huh? Oh, what?
Sick, yeah, because then you could just look straight in
the. What happened?
And he's gone.
Interesting. So
this happened before.
Who's hosting?
Rejoin. Austin.
Okay. I didn't know you can leave your own stream as a host and still rejoin.
The more you know, I guess. Yeah. This just happened at the beginning, and then like 20 minutes ago, he rejoined like right away last time though.
Pretty cool. Where are you based in right now?
I was actually in Florida. I was in Tampa for a couple of years, and then now I'm in Buenos Aires, and then I'm about to go to Brazil on Friday for about a month.
What city?
Florianopolis.
Okay. Specifically for dating, or just like a little bit of everything?
A little bit of everything. The big reason we chose Florianopolis was it's like the surf capital of Brazil, so the beaches are incredible. Nature is great. I have a student in my program who's been a digital nomad for a while, and sorry, I saw the comment. Yeah, he's a digital nomad, and he traveled all over the world and all over South America, and he went to Florianopolis like 6 or 7 times. Said it was his favorite place that he's been in South America. So
interesting.
Yeah, just going to try it out.
For dating, I found it to be way harder than Sao Paulo, but if you're there for like nature, it's probably a different experience. Hey Austin, thanks for inviting me. I gotta make some content myself, but looking forward to your live streams, man. Get that teleprompter so you can.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What
in front of the
dude? Create a easy web page or just a Notion document where you link all the stuff that you use, and I'll buy all from your affiliate links, dude. You know how much I feel like
looking
you can
forward to
make
$50 from you.
You're the ultimate. You're the ultimate like tech reviewer.
We'll do. Yeah, I'll send you what I got.
Sounds good.
All
Later.
Right. Can you kick me out? Okay, I had to leave. I found it. Okay.
All right. Later.
Cool. I think you asked me about my like 2026 whatever though, and yeah, I didn't answer that question finally. But yeah, for me, like the biggest lesson I think that I took away from 2025, like personal thing, was I think it's like kind of twofold. I'll just start talking about it, kind of see what comes up. But I also diagnosed ADHD. I've had really big challenges with like brain fog, a lack of motivation, challenges with like starting tasks. But it was to the point where like I was gifted and talented when I was a kid. When I got to about 12 years old, it was like if my brain was a car, it was like somebody jacked the car up off the ground and changed nothing about the engine. So I knew that I was capable of doing everything that was put in front of me, but every single time I put on the gas, it was like the tires just spun in midair. And I went from being gifted and talented to struggling to do basically everything in school, but not for lack of ability. It was like something else. And for me, everything changed my senior year of high school when I started to get concerned that my relatively low grades in high school were going to stop me from getting into a good college. And my senior year, I was like, this has to be the year that I change. And I just like mustered up the willpower and the motivation. And I was like, I'm going to load up my schedule with honors and AP courses. I'm going to commit. Now everything is going to change. And then 3 weeks into that semester, nothing had changed in terms of my ability to like sit down and work. And so out of desperation, I went to a Starbucks, and I still remember I ordered a grande white chocolate mocha from a barista named Ben. And I sat down, and it was like the Red Sea of my brain parted. Like somebody put glasses on my brain and allowed this distortion and inability to focus that I had for so long to like click into place. The brain fog went away, and like suddenly it was like the tires landed back on the ground again. So I had such a strong experience in like my change of ability and cognitive quality of life with the introduction of caffeine. that it's been a really challenging relationship for me ever since to manage, because it's also like I'm definitely higher on the anxiety side of the spectrum as a person, like very sensitive to anxiety. And caffeine like let me work and focus, but then it turned me into this like anxious person who had a lot of trouble socializing and just being like comfortable and relaxed in my body, which made relationship stuff challenging. And then like the side effects of caffeine, is like you get a dependency, you drink it, you have like 3 hours of somewhat good focus, and then you crash, and then your energy quality is horrible. And so that's been a battle for me for a long time. And about 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, I reintroduced caffeine into my life. And for the first like 7 months, it was incredible, like focused, creating content like crazy, super locked in. And then the consequences really started to pile up again. And the last year for me has been extremely challenging. So that's context and preface to say that the biggest realization for me is twofold. One, and I think this is one of the most powerful quotes that I got out of the last year, but the energy with which you build a system is the energy that system will require of you to maintain it. So to use myself as an example, I built a business off of caffeine and a sense of urgency, and that was stressful, that required me to do something that was actually like, it was what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the name of it, but it's a deal you make where it's like takes more from you on the back end than you get on the front end. That's what caffeine was like. And so it locked me into this pattern where I went all in on my coaching business. Now I had like financial pressure and urgency to actually just meet my own financial needs every single month. Then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to quit caffeine and like emotionally relax. Except for now I can't, because I require it to work, because I developed a dependency on it again. And if I stop and go through a period of like 3 to 4 weeks of not being able to focus and having no motivation, I can't financially survive. So I got myself into this coffin's corner where I started to realize like I built this system in my life off of an unsustainable source of energy. And growing and scaling with this as my foundation was only going to compound the problem. It was never going to give me the space to actually change the operating system. So the second biggest thing for me then was the realization that I do not presently have the quality of energy that is required of me in order to achieve my goals. The result of me like going back and struggling with caffeine again was my ability to grow and to contribute and to help guys became more limited, because I was spending like half of my day just zapped from too much caffeine consumption. Like I wasn't sitting down and being able to create content and work because I was dealing with the consequences. And so moving forward over this upcoming year, I have since like pretty much 99% cut caffeine out of my life at this point. Over the next year, my goals are really focused on a couple things. One is I want to go all in on figuring out what I need to change on a personal level so that I can live from an abundance of high quality energy that doesn't require me to be dependent on an external substance in order to function as a person. That is for me like goal number one. And everything is kind of an offshoot from that. I want to focus more on my relationships. Because over the last year, again, because of caffeine, stress, all that kind of stuff, I think this is also good just for people to know who are thinking about doing something like entrepreneurial in their life. And Austin, I think, God, like I feel like there's so much you could say about this too, because you were the first person that I actually got to know like behind the scenes who lived the entrepreneurial life. It's really hard to impress upon people how stressful it is to be an entrepreneur if you've never lived the life. Like you are a hunter who only gets to eat what you kill. And it's a constant level of baseline uncertainty, especially in the beginning, where if you don't perform and you don't bring in results, you're the one who suffers the consequences. There is no guaranteed safety net where you can have a bad month and then still get paid the same amount of money, right? So there's this baseline stress and uncertainty that has to be adjusted to. Oh gosh, just lost my train of thought. I think I was going somewhere with that. Yeah, well, that was what I was saying. like the urgency of being a full-time entrepreneur at this point caused me to like expand the amount of time I was spending every day trying to build a business and coach and get results from my clients, to the point where it was eating away at my ability to do the things that are necessary for me to be a healthy person. And so as I'm over the last year, like coaching people to live these super connected lives and helping my clients to get great results, which I'm super proud of, it happened in the context of my life getting less and less connected and me spending more and more time like sitting at a computer alone working. And so that is a dynamic that I'm really committed to changing, because what it resulted in over the course of a year was this sense of hypocrisy where like degree by degree, like a frog in boiling water, I spent more time working and less time socializing, having fun, and doing the other stuff that matters in life. And so step by step, my life started to look less and less and less like the transformation that I'm helping people to achieve in my program. And so that integrity aspect is another like massive thing. I really want to get back into a position where my life is a reflection of the transformation that I'm helping people to achieve, where I'm not like working all day and then not having a fun social life. And instead, again, my life is actually a more direct reflection. So quitting caffeine, focusing on relationships. The other thing for me has been this year is the year of the horse. So I took that as inspiration to say, this is the year of horsing around. Fun and just spending more time doing things that aren't so serious is a massive focus for me this year too. So I'm trying to keep it pretty simple, although that was a lot of explanation. I want to develop high quality energy, do everything that's necessary to live free of dependency on substances to perform. I want to focus on my relationships more and have more fun and joy in my year. So I have a tendency to overcomplicate things if people can't pick up on that. So I'm purposefully trying to keep things quite minimalist in terms of values and a direction and goal for the year. But yeah, I guess the last thing to kind of leave off on that would just be enlarged contribution. I think it's a big takeaway for me too, is like, again, with the entrepreneurship thing, but I think this is just true in general. When you level up in life, it's going to reflect the cracks in your character and your ability that the previous level of responsibility that you were at didn't apply the pressure to reveal. So for me, like I didn't have a lot of these problems until I do not run out of things to say. $1 million mouthpiece lesson in real time, free association flow. But what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, when you onboard responsibility, it's going to reveal the parts of you that need to grow and develop in order to be able to handle that responsibility. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, that was a big lesson where, and I just lost my train of thought from that comment. Something about that larger contribution. Yeah, in order to contribute at the scale that I need to, there's parts of me that still need to grow and develop. And I think not working on those areas of my life is incredibly selfish, looking back in hindsight. Like having problems when you're in a position where you can legitimately change people's lives, having problems that prevent you from contributing and being of service is a really selfish position to be in. So I want to get into a position personally where I can contribute at a larger level. And that's it.
Yeah, one of the things I learned recently is that there's no biological free lunch. Like anyone who thinks that there's like this miracle molecule that you take and it has no trade-offs, you're lying to yourself. The only things that don't have trade-offs are when you are like deficient in something. So if you're like iron deficient and you take some iron or whatever, or like you basically come back up to baseline. Everything else, there's trade-offs. So caffeine, you get more energy now at the cost of worse sleep, adrenal fatigue, like other things like this, right? So that's why like that's why you should seek wisdom, because like wisdom is like it'll show you the true path. Instead of thinking, hey, I'm gonna do steroids so I can get gains faster, you're like, well, that'll also cause all these other side effects in my life. And yeah, that's like one of my biggest values is health. So if something destroys my health, I don't do it. It's super. I feel like the whole point of writing these values, which if you guys are listening this far, create a list of values for this year. Like, please. It's so easy to make decisions. Like, someone offers me a cigarette, I'm going to be like, personally, I don't like smelling like shit. I'm not trying to avoid my emotions. And health wise, I don't want to get lung cancer. I also, one of the things I value is nature and the planet that we live on. Like, you're doing something that makes no sense in terms of any of my values. They just doesn't resonate with it. I will never smoke a cigarette. You could put a gun in my mouth. I'm not going to smoke one. It's fucking gay. So it's not a part of who I am or who I'm becoming. So, yeah, anyway, write your list of values because it makes the decisions that you make in life so much easier. Like, you don't have to like mentally, go back and forth on so many things. It's just like, does this align with my values? Is this part of who I am and who I'm becoming? Yes or no? Okay. If it is, it's part of my path, then I'm doing it. It makes it so easy. Anyway, what else do we have to talk about? Let me see. You mentioned something about energy, and I've been looking for this quote that I wrote down. It's actually a Ty Lopez quote. I think he's really brilliant, actually. Where is his? It's basically like he was talking about like what you need to create mass amounts of wealth. It's like it was something like high IQ plus high organization plus high perfectionism plus high energy plus like, and he just like kept saying those things like plus, and he kind of outlined like the entire like kind of operating system through which wealth flows. So it was kind of cool. If I find it by the end of the stream, I'll put it in the comments or something. But yeah, what's the next question that we were going to talk about?
Oh yeah, I guess the last one we had here was what are the most important things that you think guys should know about achieving their goals, being successful this upcoming year, based on what you've learned over the last year?
Actually, one of the things I learned when I was doing my goal setting call this year is really interesting. It's the percentage of people who accomplish their goals. First of all, the percentage of people that set goals and the percentage of people that accomplish them. So let me pull this up. Let's see. So, actually, guys, post in the chat. What percentage of people make New Year's resolutions? And then of the people who make them, what percentage of the people actually achieve them? Oh, nice. You found it, Rahul. Yeah. I think I posted that in our chat, right? This is it. Wow. Dude, Rahul's smart as fuck. Yeah, I feel like Rahul, you have the ability to make insane amounts of wealth. You're like super organized. Actually, well, you are kind of risk taking. I would say maybe moderate risk taking. And maybe you're not that money motivated. You don't seem that money motivated. That's honestly like one of my biggest sticking points. I should be more motivated by money. I really just want to fuck girls, but wisdom, cunning. Yeah, I guess a part of wisdom comes with age. Yeah, I'm going to screenshot this. And then I'm going to OCR it. Put it in my quotes. Cool. I got lost. Oh, yeah. So what percentage of people? Yeah, let's see. So what percentage of the people make New Year's resolutions? And then the second percentage would be what percentage of the people that make them actually accomplish them? There should be two numbers. But anyway, around 40% of people make a New Year's resolution. So they set a goal. They want to get, they want to accomplish something. They want to, stop doing something. What brand? I don't know. Sleep ZM. Dude, so nice having a camera as a webcam. This is fucking awesome. This is like epic. And there's like a nice frosty depth of field. So 40% of people make New Year's resolutions, and of the people that make them, only 8% of them achieve it. So that means there's a 3% of the population sets goals and achieves them, at least one goal. So the thing I think it's really important to know about you guys for next year, if 3% of people are setting goals and achieving them, setting a goal and achieving it, that should actually cause you some fear, right? I think it's actually good to let a little fear come in to motivate you and to be serious about your goals. Most people aren't fucking serious. I get so pissed. Like when people tell me they have a goal of something and they don't do it, I get angry. When I set goals, I'll tell you, like, here's like a kind of a short timeline. So I was in Florida and I just got this vision in my mind. Like, wouldn't it be cool to like fuck a girl on a boat? Like that sounds pretty cool, right? You're out on the water. It's peaceful. You got some islands, you know, waves are kind of just lapping up against the boat. And you're just like, you know, having sex with some hot girl out on the water. And so I had that vision. And then I immediately got to work in creating that. So signed up for a boat club, did the boating, you know, legal stuff and learned all the courses and all that kind of stuff. Boating license, boom, got out on the water, invited a girl out, and yeah, wonderful times. So yeah, when I set goals, I want to accomplish them, right? And I want to be serious about them. So one of the things that is really important when you're goal setting is that you actually narrow down the list of what you want to accomplish. So first, it's like brainstorming. Write down literally everything you want to do, be, accomplish, create. Just knock off your to-do list, experience, have everything. And you should get a list of like maybe 25 to 50 things. And then of that, you want to find like, what are the top 3 that if you accomplish them, you would be so happy, right? At the end of the year, you look back and you're like, fuck, I did these 3 things. I'd be fucking thrilled. And then after that, you want to find a main goal. And the reason why you want to have a main goal is because there's going to be conflicts between the goals. At some point, like if one of your goals is, I want to have the optimal health, and the second goal is, I want to sleep with 100 girls this year, then there's going to be conflict there because a lot of times you have to stay up late if you're closing, right? Or girl sleeps over and she messes up your sleep, or you know so there's going to be conflict. So you have to decide what is the main goal that you have, and then really build everything around that. And you have to honestly create a very comprehensive strategy on how you're going to create your goals. I think I've been playing around with this idea. I think I'm going to create just a video on YouTube for goal creation and just leave it up there forever. And that way everyone could just reference it in the future. Yeah, but that's something that I would tell people about setting their goals is like, most people don't achieve shit in their life. If you want a goal, it's going to be quite difficult. You're going to have to grind to have it. You need to have a comprehensive system. You need to build your environment around it. You need to have habits surrounding it. You need to be motivated by the end result and also the process of doing it. And you got to like lock into like maybe one main goal, and then at max like 2 sub goals beneath that. Like otherwise you're just going to be spreading your attention too thin. The cool thing, the thing about focus is if you direct your focus intensely on one thing, it's like a laser. It can melt a steel beam if you really focus it. But if you take that laser and you open it up to a wide area, it won't do shit. It's not going to even pop a balloon, right? So you want to have your focus as concentrated as possible on the thing that you want, the life that you want, the goals that you have. Another way that I've also done this in the past is like make a goal based on one of the 3 or 4 areas of your life. So like you should have a health goal, you should have a business goal, like business, purpose, whatever. And then you should have a social goal, whether it's throwing fun parties, having a bunch of friends, you know, getting a girlfriend, etc. So yeah.
Really quick and answer that question. I have not tried mate here. I've had it back in the United States, so I'm familiar with what it is. Yeah, for me, I know that I'm so sensitive to caffeine that any amount, even if it has L-theanine in it or the other stuff that mate or green tea has, it still creates like Austin said, the lack of biological free lunch. I get the recoil, right? Like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Even the caffeine from mate will cause later on like a crash. I get the caffeine hype, like the feeling of euphoria and focus that everybody drinks it to get. Like I get that, but then the consequences, then I crash and then I feel disconnected from my emotions after. So for me, I know for me to be a healthy person, I cannot have a dependency, like an emotionally healthy person will be specific. For me to be connected to my emotions and to be healthy in that way, I cannot have a regular dependence on any mind or mood altering substance whatsoever. But that's also a very personal thing. I know there's a lot of people who drink caffeine and like just do not have the problems that I have had with it. So that is not a general prescription. That's just a very personal thing.
Yeah,
But-
this looks better.
Nice.
Oh, dude, this is sick. I'm really glad I got this place. This place looks really cool on camera. Really good. Might be a little
Nice, dude. Yeah, I
off,
think-
but whatever.
Yeah, one of the things you were talking about that was kind of embedded in there that I think is also a core thing that I would tell people is the value of urgency and honesty. So to unpack that a little bit more, I think that I actually made an Instagram reel about this recently because this came up in some of the coaching calls I had over the last couple of weeks. But we have this superpower as human beings to adapt. Like it's one of our greatest skill sets, right? That we can get into a situation that's not great and we can adapt, right? Like it's a necessary feature of being alive. Like bad things are going to happen. You're going to lose people that you love. People are going to die. Something hard is going to happen in your life. And if every little thing that came up was a catastrophe you could never recover from, like you'd be in not a great situation, right? But we have this ability to adjust to a new normal quite rapidly. And while that's a strength, it also presents this weakness where I call this substandard adaptation, right? Where we're in a situation that's just kind of shitty, but maybe it's not causing enough pain for us to trigger that crisis mode and be like, something has to change. Like things are just kind of not great or moderately not great. And then we just become accustomed to it. And then we continue on like that for months or for years. So to explain that language a little bit, right? It's below the standard of what would be achievable and best for you, substandard, and you adapt to it. Substandard adaptation is this massive trap. And I think it's so easy to get into this situation where we stop seeing the reality that our life is not where it actually could be. Like I was talking to a guy recently, which prompted this whole thing about his career. And when I asked him like how he liked his job that he was working at the time, he literally said like, "Oh, it's good." And from all the work that I've done coaching, immediately I just like locked into that like a shark. I'm like, what do you mean by good? Let's unpack that a little bit. And come to find out, basically every aspect of his job was horrible. He was underpaid. He was stuck in a culture that sucked. His bosses were micromanaging him. He didn't feel like any of his creative potential was really being utilized by the company. It was actually being vetoed by higher management as they controlled like what was going to come out of it. He'd actually been applying for jobs for 2 years trying to leave and had just gotten so few results from a poor job search strategy that he basically gave up and just resigned himself to accepting a shitty situation. And so the crazy thing to see though, right, is in what he said initially. It's okay. That's the substandard adaptation. That's the slow lie that starts to turn on the way we bullshit ourselves into making a shitty situation acceptable by sort of framing it as acceptable. And I think it's really important to like look at the areas of your life where you have been trying to make something happen or you feel called to make something happen and you've had that feeling for over like 6 months and no meaningful progress or not enough meaningful progress towards that goal has actually happened. And I think at that point, like if you've had a goal for longer than 6 months and you have not achieved it, something is wrong. And if you're in a situation in your life where things are hard and like you're financially difficult, your dating life is difficult, you're struggling with addictions, they've persisted for years, the healthy urgency, like Austin said, and I love this actually connects back to the ACT therapy thing, that fear is not a universal negative emotion. Like it's not a bad emotion to feel. Sometimes fear is the appropriate emotion to be feeling based on the reality of a situation. And if your life is trending in the wrong direction, you should feel fear. I would say that again, like you should feel some fear if your life is trending in a negative direction. That is a healthy emotion to be feeling. And so I think that the biggest thing that I would encourage people to really lean into is just honesty. Like get honest about the reality of your life. If you chart the trajectory of your life based on the momentum of your goals over the last 6 months, does that point towards achieving them or does it point towards missing them? And then realize like what is going to change about that? What is going to change if you don't change something? Like what are you actually going to do differently in order to change the trajectory? I think it's so important to snap out of that like slumber that we fall into where we just become okay with things being kind of shitty, because you can stay like that for the rest of your life. And people do. Like people get into my program at 35, 40 years old and like they're still struggling. I see it all the time. So I think that healthy sense of fear of like, if you have not achieved your goals and you've had them for longer than 6 months, something's wrong. The second thing I would add to that is to stop focusing on the surface level bullshit. So many people, when they get into personal development or any kind of related goals, they never get any deeper than like behavior swapping. They have these problems of like, oh, I've had this goal for like 5 years in my life and I haven't achieved it. Why? What's behind me not taking the actions that are necessary for me to achieve these goals? And then they say like, okay, so I just got to start doing new behaviors. And that's as far as they go in the process. And then maybe they start going out and trying to talk to girls, but then they get super, like the social anxiety or something else is stopping them from achieving their goals. And then they don't go out for months on end. And like the pattern just kind of continues. If you have had a goal for longer than 6 months and you have not achieved it, and you've taken some kind of meaningful action towards in that direction and you still haven't achieved it, something deeper is going on beneath the surface. And it would be very wise of you to start looking deeper than willpower, discipline. I just need to pull myself up by my bootstraps and go do it. Like dive into the deeper work, like Austin and I were saying, of the power of transformation is unlocked where you relate to yourself and your goals and what you're trying to achieve. The thing that is probably keeping you stuck is not a lack of willpower or discipline. It's probably something deeper. And again, if you've been trying to achieve something for longer than 6 months and you haven't, you need to go into those deeper layers to figure out why, or again, you risk staying stuck for a very long time. And that's real. I know I see it, Austin. I know you see it of like, there's something I'll stop with this. I'm getting on that like fire hose rant thing again. But one of the things I admire the most about you, Austin, is I think you're probably the most resourceful person that I've ever met, in a way where like, if you've never taken a program with Austin or met him in person, it's like kind of psychotic to see how resourceful Austin is in person. Like you think you would do everything to solve a problem until you meet somebody like Austin. And then you see that like when a wall appears in Austin's way, it is not like, oh, there's a wall. Okay, guess we're just not doing that. It's like, I'm going around it. If that doesn't work, I'm going under it. If that doesn't work it, I'm going over it. If that doesn't work it, I'm going to build a teleporter and I'm going to teleport through the wall. Like there's a level of willingness to do whatever it takes in order to put yourself in the position where you achieve your goals. That is like, again, it's the thing I respect about you the most. And I think the biggest thing I've learned from being friends with you for years now is that sense of like, most people are living in a prison of imaginary rules and limitations that they create for themselves. And there's other people that just simply don't put those limitations on what's possible. So like, if you have a goal, are you actually doing everything in your power to achieve it? Or are you not? It really boils down to something that simple. Get resourceful. Stop putting limitations on yourself. Actually ask yourself what you have left off the table in terms of resources to achieve something. Like if you have a fitness goal and all you've ever done is look up ChatGPT meal plans and gone to like a $20 a month gym and you're still overweight after 6 months and you're like, man, I've just been doing everything. Have you really been trying everything? Why have you not sought out a personal trainer? Why have you not invested in some form of higher support? Like, why have you not put yourself around people, like join a run club and put yourself in an environment where people are going to pressure you to be healthy? Like, think about the other options you have beyond what you've done. And do not let a lack of resourcefulness be the reason why you stay stuck. That would be my recommendations.
Yeah. And I feel like getting in groups of other people where you can talk about these type of things, like your goals or what you're trying to accomplish. The mastermind is super important. I just remember so many times in my life, I've been so stuck with something, and then I just mention it to my mastermind and they'll give me like the solution. And there are things that you can't Google, that you can't ChatGPT, that only like insiders know, like information that's not on the internet. People will tell you the real stuff when they're your friend. And when you're in these groups and like you meet people, you network with them in person and you just kind of hang out, they'll tell you things they don't tell other people. And yeah, I think a lot of that stuff does help you get ahead. Let's open up to questions, maybe take like 20 minutes of questions and then wrap it up. Yeah, I like this quote. High IQ plus high energy plus self-discipline plus perfectionism plus organization plus high risk-taking plus diligence plus focus plus money motivated plus luck plus wisdom plus cunning equals crazy wealth. That's honestly like the most accurate formula I think I've ever heard. But I think for most businesses, you don't really have to be super crazy smart. Like, what's his name? Warren Buffett says like to be great at business or investing, like any IQ above like 120 is kind of wasted. Like, yeah, Nate's IQ is too high for what he's doing, honestly. Oh man. Nate, can you please talk about charisma and how to cultivate it, like how to Rizmax, basically?
Yeah. So I think this would be another thing that Austin can definitely chime in and offer his perspective on. But charisma stems from a healthy connection to yourself where authenticity is actually possible. So I'll talk about something. Okay. There's like 5 things that I want to say all at once. The first thing I would say is be authentic is the worst advice that you can give to a beginner. And it's the exact right advice that you give to somebody who is approaching like an advanced level with social skills. Most people are living with a complex web of internal self-protective mechanisms that they mistake with their authentic self. So I go out and I feel stifled. I go out and I get tense. I go out and I start comparing myself negatively to others. I go out and I have this script in my head of all of these reasons why I'm not good enough. And almost always, there are things about me that are unchangeable, conveniently enough. My height, my skin color, what my body looks like, right? There's all these things that come up where people start to disqualify themselves. And so if I tell you that your bundle of protective mechanisms against unconscious wounds, shame, and like other parts of trauma is your true self, if you've been experiencing that for your entire life and I tell you to go be authentic, you're just going to double down on a version of you that is not authentic. And then be like, why is this not working? So again, right advice for the wrong person. People who are in the beginning of working on their social skills, the best possible thing that you could do is twofold. One, you have to work on the internal parts that are like stuck in self-protective modes that are preventing you from connecting with other people. So this is such a huge principle. Actually, Austin, you were the one who I learned this quote from, that connection is the default. When protection is offline, connection is the default. So again, these like self-protective mechanisms, the analogy that I use with my clients is like The parts of you that are trying to protect you, whether it's through shame stories, insecurity, reasons why it's not going to work out, all of these things are like armor. They are trying to put something in your way that will stop you from getting connected with in a way that could hurt you. Like physical armor is something you put around your body to stop connection from happening. So if you are having trouble feeling authentic, from feeling charismatic, from like you're feeling stifled, all that's saying is you are wearing an emotional suit of armor. And so it's no wonder that you don't feel connected to others in the way that you want to. So these self-protective mechanisms and parts need to be addressed so that you operate from a sense of internal emotional safety. But most importantly, unpack that a little bit, your relationship with the parts of yourself is likely causing the problem. You are likely the person who is judging yourself, who treats some parts of yourself as good, other parts as bad. You have a relationship with them that was based on self-rejection, repression, judgment, or you're so fused with them you can't even tell that they're a story in your head, right? And so your relationship with yourself is creating the fragmentation that no amount of external action in the world is ever going to resolve. Like everywhere you go, there you are. You will never be able to achieve an amount of external validation that will turn you into a version of yourself that you like. You have to be the one to take responsibility for changing that relationship and then unloading these self-protective parts of the burden of constantly protecting you from stuff. Then you have to combine that with the second part, which is external action, the developmental aspect. You have to gain positive, restorative relational experiences of being authentic and having a positive result actually come from it. So going out obviously is great. Being generally social, great. Experience yourself hitting that authentic flow state and then experience people responding positively. That will begin to rework the inner beliefs. But it has to, if you never address the self-protective mechanisms, you'll just keep hitting ceilings. So it's so important to focus on the internal work in combination with the external actions. You can't do one without the other. So in terms of actually becoming charismatic, right, that is the answer. Do what's necessary for you to feel relaxed and safe in your own body, your own experience of life, so that you can express who you are without filtration, like self-protective filtration. And then go out into the world and actually practice doing it so you can build the muscles. Charisma and authenticity is who you naturally are. But that doesn't come if you're constantly stuck in low-grade fight or flight, always protecting yourself against potential judgment, rejection, abandonment, shame. Like you just never feel it. You never feel connected to yourself as long as you're in those self-protective modes. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd add to that, when I think someone's charismatic, I think that they are they're authentic. They're like, they are themselves. They're not trying to be anyone else. Whenever someone doesn't like themselves, it really comes through in what they're saying, right? So I think a deep love of yourself, appreciation of yourself, and an authenticity with everything you say. You know, there's a congruence in your thoughts, words, and actions. So that's aligning. And it's just the person is who they are. They're not trying to fake the funk. And another thing, so that's the authenticity, and they are who they say they are. The second thing is that they are offering value, right? They've made the conscious choice to think, I want to make this person in front of me have a great time. So I call that giving value. And it's about like understanding the subjective emotional experience of the person in front of you and making sure that they have a good time as well. And I'll see this with students sometimes. Like we'll go out to dinner and like, you know, the waiter brings them food and then they don't even look at the waiter. They just go, It's like, how do you think the waiter feels when you literally just did the most NPC possible action ever? So when the waiter comes, hey, thanks, bro, appreciate it. Boom. And then another thing I think that makes someone charismatic is just being attuned to the social experience that's happening. So if you have a lot of social experience, you'll know when things are like social faux pas and a little bit weird. And actually, I feel like a great person to watch for this, like watch Seinfeld and actually just like look at how Jerry Seinfeld interacts with people, how he talks to people. He's like autistic in the way where it's like he analyzes social things that are happening in such detail. And I think it's actually a really cool person to look at. Like, there are certain things that you do that for some people, they pick up on it very strongly, right? So by kind of like taking a more almost autistic perspective at a more detail oriented, let's say, perspective, you'll know when you're doing things that are a little bit weird, a little bit outside of social norms. And so basically, yeah, I would say you want to channel like this. I mean, in the Charisma Myth book, she calls it, there's three things: presence, warmth, and power. So if someone's authentic and they're in the moment with you, they're super present, right? If they have the warmth, they want you to have a great experience. They have something good to share. And part of that, I think, is like the health component, right? If you're underslept, if you feel like shit, you know, people are going to feel that off of you. If you take care of yourself, then you can help others, right? Put your mask on before assisting others. And so, yeah, if you have this like good, positive emotional ecosystem that you can share with people, it's kind of like this overflowing cup. Then people feel that off of you. They feel the warmth. They feel the good vibes. And then, yeah, and I think a bit of that too is like getting into state, right? People, you know, if people just if I talk to someone for 20 minutes in a like a non-goal oriented way where we're just kind of like shooting the shit, vibing, then I will be warmed up to talk to literally anyone. And yeah, so there's that component to it. And the last one is power. So power is perceived ability to affect outcomes, status, experience, confidence signals. And that's what I was kind of getting at with the when you see people that are socially confident and they also are just like socially adept, and it just makes you feel good. And like you said, I think make you feel like safe in front of them. Yeah. And then you tend to listen to people who have some degree of status. Our brains are wired for status. Great book on this, The Status Game. Literally everything comes back to status in one way, shape, or form. And when you see like a video, you could have a video of some no-name person that you've never seen before, like who's fat, telling you, hey, bro, here's how to increase your bench press. And then conversely, you could have a video on YouTube. Arnold Schwarzenegger shares with you his top 5 bench press tips. Which one are you going to look at? You're going to look at the one with the status, right? So I kind of like this combination of all those things. And you combine that, that's what charisma is. And I do think while there is like a component to it that is genetic, dude, I feel like, what is it called? Irish people are so charismatic, dude. It's crazy. Like, there's something about their culture where like you just talk to people all the time. So everyone's like socially adept and everyone wants to just kind of connect with you and like share with you and see how you're doing and like vibe with you. It more than any place that I've ever gone. There's like this like warmth, this conviviality that they have. So part of it's genetic, and then part of it is like, you know, and also for your who you are, like the person you are. You know, some people have like the humor gene kind of built into them. Like they're just a funnier person. Now you can work at all these aspects. You can improve your charisma for sure, like leaps and bounds. Same thing with your humor. You can improve your humor leaps and bounds, but certain people are obviously going to have a leg up, right? Certain people, like if I look at like a fucking, like Russell Brand, I think might be like one of the most charismatic people I've ever seen, right? Russell Brand, or, you know, I'm sure there's like some celebrities that have this level of charisma too. Some great speakers. These people, they are gifted. They do have a genetic advantage, but they also have worked on all these qualities. They've gone to, you know, acting school. They've done therapy. They've, you know, worked on how to express their emotions more. They've worked on, you know, going up the rank in their status. And we combine all these aspects together. So like presence, so being present with the person, warmth, So the question people have in their mind is like, are you on my side? And when you can really easily connect with people, like if I can, I'm so good at cold reading now, I can literally look at someone and start speaking their language. So like if I see a Korean girl, you know, I'm just like 안녕하세요, and boom, and then it's like, oh my god, you know. So you can build that through cultural rapport. You can build it through giving value. When you're giving value, what does it suggest? I want you to win. I'm on your side. I want you to have a great time. And that is, people trust you and they like you. And liking bias is one of the strongest biases. That book, what's it called? Influenced by Cialdini. One of the 6 things I think he talks about, I think it was 6 total, is liking bias. Like if people like you, like everything is kind of through that lens. It's kind of like a halo effect. Yeah. And
yeah, one thing I want to add on to that, or did you want to finish the thought?
Well, the last thing I wanted to say is like, you know, people will think about like, oh, what body language do I have to make people like me? But then the place that's coming from is, I want people to like me. I want to control people's perceptions of me. And it's still control dynamic instead of like the letting go dynamic. So the internal state that you have influences how people perceive you, right? So when if I go and if I approach a girl and I say, and in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this girl. I don't know if this girl will like me. Will I be okay for her? I'm already cooked. And then if I go up thinking, oh, dude, I'm going to make this girl's day. She's going to be smiling. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to share with her how, my vibe. Then she's going to resonate with that pretty deeply, because like my deeper state is kind of influencing my actions, my body language, and all these like micro expressions and things that women can pick up on. And like I always say, women, they can pick up on the vibe more than men can. Women have a better intuition for social skills and like just quickly evaluating people and their intentions than men do. So yeah.
I wanted to add on a little bit because you brought up something that was really important. And I think I frame this through a spiritual lens. So the way that I approach spirituality is not like in a necessary traditional religious sense, although I think there's a lot of there's a baby in the bathwater of traditional conventional religions that people have kind of thrown away while completely disregarding like the utterly life-changing transformative value of. But when somebody's authentic, part of what we experience, right, is that they're, like Austin said, they have a sense of power in them. Like somebody who is authentic is expressing themselves in the world, or who's charismatic even, they're expressing themselves in the world in a way that is powerful. Like it's drawing positive attention. It is creating good results in the world around them. They have some kind of abundance of energy inside of them that is flowing out into the world around them. So I think another really important thing to look for is like obstacles to authenticity or charisma is any kind of like there's a couple ways to frame this. One would be a scarcity-based mentality, like horrible energy, terrible self-esteem. I'm not enough. I need to go out into the world and get somebody's approval of me to make me feel like I'm okay. A second frame that I could look at that through is what I call lust, right? Especially with girls as you're going out. Lust is not sexual attraction. Lust is when I'm trying to use my sexuality as a means to take from somebody else to fill what I feel is lacking within me. When I want to go up to a girl and I have this agenda of let me take her fun, let me take her validation so I feel better about myself. Let me force this in some way, control or force this outcome to frame me in a positive light. Any amount of that kind of energy is a symptom that you are operating from an internal place of scarcity versus abundance. But I want to make that a little bit more like concrete, because I know like abundance and scarcity gets talked about all the time, but it's very like esoteric. The first thing I would say is somebody begins to move into scarcity when their sense of self-worth is low and it's externalized. Like other people, like my identity and my worth is determined by what other people think about me. If this goes good, I'm finally a good enough person. If this doesn't go good by my own definitions, it means something's wrong with me. I'm not good enough, right? Like other people have these puppet strings that they get to pull on that determine your worth. This is another thing that you hear a lot in like the dating pickup community over the years is like, don't give your power away. What does that mean? It means don't allow your identity and your worth to be defined by other people's opinions of you. So to make that in positive language now, part of how you set yourself up to be really charismatic and authentic is internalize your sense of worth. And the means by which I've seen this actually happen for people has been twofold. One, spiritual. People who embark on a like legitimate spiritual path where they start to understand their worth and their value, their lovability, their belonging to life as a person as fundamental and unchangeable. They internalize their sense of worth through spiritual practice. The second thing I would say is through some kind of psychological transformation. Austin, I know a big one for you was mushrooms that helped cause this shift to happen. For me, the biggest source of it has been a combination of, well, I would say more like internal family systems trauma work. So one of the things that Austin was talking about is like when you go up to a girl and you're trying to force and control an outcome to occur, what the heck is going on? This will be a super high level crash course, but internal family systems is a way of looking at your psychology as composed of parts. People will always talk about their experience of being themselves as a part of me wanted to do this and a part of me didn't, right? Like, okay, well, who are these parts? So in IFS, they break it down into different classes of parts. One of them is called the managerial class, the managers. These are the protective parts of you, and you know they're present because they have an agenda, and their means of causing change to happen in the world is always some kind of force or control. So if you go up to a girl and you're trying to force an outcome to happen, that's not you that is there. It's a manager part of you that has grabbed the steering wheel, and she can feel it, right? We're so sensitive to when people around us are operating from a posture of control, when they have a hidden agenda, when they're trying to make something happen, when I feel like I'm inside of a process rather than I'm being genuinely connected with as a human being. The core process or the core goal of IFS is to help people to unblend, which is very similar to ACT therapy's diffusion, to unblend from parts and to abide in what they call self with a capital S, which is like your true essence and nature as a person. It's when you don't have an agenda, when you're not in self-protection mode, when you are, they call it the 8 C's, but you're calm, you're compassionate, you're curious, you have clarity on things around you, you're not being emotionally reactive, right? There's all these qualities that we begin to recognize as like, man, whatever I just tapped into in myself felt more like me than anything I've ever felt. I felt like grounded within myself in a way where I'm not so reactive or influenced by what other people think about me, all that stuff. The point of this being that through IFS, there's a process of unloading these protective parts, of healing shame, and of learning to abide from a posture of self. That is where authenticity flows from. When I can go up to somebody and, like Austin was saying, this is a different way to frame it, I don't have this agenda other than, wow, I'm curious to get to know this person. I wonder what our connection will be like. I'm not coming in with this idea that she has to approve of me or that I have to be successful. This has to go my way or I'm not going to be okay. Instead, it's just this posture of like, I'm not here trying to complete myself using you as the means to do it. Like, I'm actually just here because I'm interested in you as a person. I'm connection focused. I'm focused on the present, not on achieving a future outcome, using you as the means by which I do it. So that would be the other thing I would say is like when you have, and connecting that all the way back, it's like that's where abundance of energy lives. When you're not taking from the world, you have all this wealth of energy and emotional resources to be able to pour out into others. Where you're focused on giving a great experience, not in the sense of like, oh, I hope she likes this, but I want to have fun. I'm going to go up and do what I want to do in terms of having fun and being myself. And if there's a connection, that's awesome. And then I'll play around with that and like partner dancing, see where this goes together rather than trying to force it to be something right off the bat. So I would say that would be the other core parts of authenticity. Lack of agenda, lack of control, operating from a posture of abundance, not trying to complete your sense of self-worth by using other people's affirmation or validation of you as the means by which you do it.
Cool. Let's see. So eloquently put. Cool. All right, guys. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm getting really tired. It's like almost 3 a.m. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, smash the like button. And yeah, check out Nate's channel. You want to plug your channel?
Yeah, it's at Recover with Nate. It should also show up linked to the live stream here, hopefully. But yeah, YouTube/at Recover with Nate.
Yeah. And anything that we should leave off with? I don't know. I guess, yeah, big thing is like write out your values. And yeah, what else do you think you want to leave them with?
Be honest. Like, have the courage to look at your life and be radically honest with what you see. If your actions and the outcomes in your life are not reflecting the kind of person that you want to be, allow yourself to feel the fear and the urgency that arises from that realization, and let that motivate you to actually change.
Cool. All right. Good talking to you. Thanks for being here.